about the start you were looking for. What kind of shifted as the game went on?
Well, I think it's a game of momentum. I thought the first period, we had an excellent first period. I thought we had a fairly strong second period as far as controlling territory. We spent a significant amount of time in the offensive zone. I don't think we got as many quality looks in the second period as we did in the first, but I thought as far as, controlling territory and playing on top of them, I thought, was, for the most part, it was pretty solid there also, you look at, for me, a big part of the game was the net fronts. I think we could have done a better job offensively and fighting for the blue paint, making the sight lines difficult, getting some sticks on pucks. When you look at the nature of the goals that were scored against us, a power play goal that's a wrist shot from the perimeter and a sifter from the blue line off a face-off with people at the net. When you look around the league and you watch how goals are scored around the league, there's a fair amount of goals that are being scored with, that type of a net presence. So your ability to win the net fronts, at both ends of the rink is an important element of it. And I thought that was the difference in the game tonight.
Mike, on the trip you had talked about with the power play specifically, if you didn't get one early in the game, even if it looked good, they would kind of press as the game went on and other chances came on. Did it feel like the whole game, 5-on-5 included, felt that way, like in the third period, maybe they were pressing a bit?
Yeah, I think so. These guys care a lot, and so I think we were pressing a little bit in the third, and give Carolina credit. They locked it down pretty good in the third period. We didn't do as good a job in the third as we did in the first two periods, that's for sure.
Does the home ice thing, not having a win here yet, does that kind of add to it, you think?
Yeah, I'm sure. These guys are human, so like I said, they care a lot about what's going on. So of course we want to be a team that prides itself on being good at home and being stingy at home and making this a tough place for people to play. As I said, I thought when you look how the game was played in the first two periods of the game, there was a lot to like about our game. Some of the quality looks. I'm not sure we could get better looks. Brett was in alone. JT had a rebound chance right in the slot. Johnny Brodzinski had a grade A chance right in the slot. There's three off the top of my head that, you don't get many better looks than those. That's just the way it's going for us right now. We just got to keep fighting.
What's the key to not letting this continue to snowball here?
I just think it's resilience. It's resilience. It's a mindset. We're going to have to, we're going to go to work as far as areas to try to help us get better. As I mentioned to you earlier, I think, having a harder, more consistent presence at the net front, I think is an important element of it. I think if we can do that, we can make the sight lines difficult. We're there. It's not that we're not there. We're around it also, but I think we can. There's another level to it, and that's what we've got to get to.
I know some of it is what they're doing with the way they were playing. You said that they shut it down pretty well in the third, but you only had one shot in the whole period. What do you guys need to do to be able to get pucks on net more?
Well, we didn't spend enough time in the offensive zone in the third. That was a part of it, and so it wasn't like the third period was a pretty low event period, and so we didn't do a good enough job, I don't think, getting through the neutral zone, hanging on the pucks in the offensive zone. They play on top of you. That's their style of play, and I think it's the evolution of the NHL. All the good teams do. That's just that's how the game is evolving and the way the game's being played, in my opinion. So, I thought for the first two periods we played on top of them pretty good. I know we didn't score, but it wasn't like they were getting a ton of looks. They were opportunistic on the two that they scored. Now are there areas we can be better at, for sure, and we'll go to work with that. But obviously, where our group is, has a lot of pride and wants to have success here. So we've got to find a way to fight through that.
Coach, with that too, I know you talked about how the power play's gotten good looks over the past couple games, and it did tonight again too. But at what point does it become like a little bit just mental and guys like just honestly human nature things when they shoot it, it might not go in, like the confidence when you're scoring, you think every shot's gonna go in, and now when it's like this, is it only human nature to not think you're gonna score at this point?
I think that's part of it, but that's the challenge of sports. Is when it doesn't go your way, you've got to show a certain amount of resilience, and you've got to fight through it, and that's where we're at. When there are times when you probably don't deserve to score goals and the puck goes in, and so I think, is it human nature? Yes, but there's a lot of things that are part of human nature that just simply can't be part of sports, and so we're gonna have to find a way to to fight through some of that, if it's doubt or confidence or whatever it is. I mean, we'll tweak it. We're going to try to do our best to bring more solutions to the table for these guys, to give them something to hang their hat on and say, okay, we can go at this. We can go at this maybe a little bit of a different way, but as I said, one of the reasons why we've stayed with the group that we've had to this point is because we felt like, both from our eye test and analytically, the group has done a pretty good job as far as generating quality looks. And as I've said, sometimes it's hard to control whether the puck was in the net, but what you can control is your ability to generate quality opportunities. And we have felt to this point that they've been generating those. At some point, maybe we need to make some adjustments, and we'll certainly do that for sure.